Welcome to Sage Sisters. We are sisters, besties, moms, and co-founders having a fun catch-up on parenting and life.
Hi, I'm Ann.
And I'm Kate. We are excited to be back with another episode of Sage Sisters. We are loving all the feedback, so please keep that coming. And let's get to it. Ann, what's your high?
My high is a little bit of a low high, I think, kind of to start just the description of it. But I have always fluctuated, especially after the third child, probably 5 or 10 pounds, depending on what's going on in life, depending on how focused I am. The holiday season, as everybody knows, is just the time where that kind of gets away from you. We've talked about it before. But I'm always like punishing myself when I'm on the higher level. So I'm like, I'm not going to buy anything. I'm not going to buy anything new. I flipped the script and I went out and bought a couple pairs of pants that were a size bigger. And I'm feeling so good. I love them. They're comfortable. I'm not stressed. We have so many like different holiday or family events or going out with friends. And I like before I did this was like stressing trying to find an outfit. And it just feels so good. So I'm not like totally Tyra Banks, like, kiss my fat ass body positivity.
Oh my God, I love that.
But I'm here for the body positivity a little bit. And it has just changed my whole perspective on this holiday season. And I'm like liking going out. I'm just like feeling more comfortable and I look better. So
God, amazing. Good for you. And is there any worse feeling than when you try to squeeze in and try to get that top button and it's just too tight?
Nothing worse. And like high-waisted is flattering on me. Usually that's just like kind of what feels good. And there's nothing worse than when you get that photo back and you're like, oof, like a side angle. And you're like, I was not expecting that angle, obviously, to be taken and photographed.
No, it's like, I feel like a sausage in a casing. It's just like a miserable feeling. So
Totally.
Oh,
100%.
yeah.
So I'll have to like tag, it's not my obsessions, but I will have to tag like the link to some of these pants I bought because one of them is from Athleta and it's kind of, they're like a nicer dress pant look.
Are you doing the wide leg or are you kind of
wide leg?
We got to.
I went wide leg on like this pair in particular. They're like a cream color. They're stretch.
Cream color with kids? I'm shook.
I'm telling you, they're good. They're because they're like this stretchy athletic material, it doesn't seem to stain as quickly either. Anyways, I'm loving those. I got a pair of like velvet wide leg pants that are so fun and cute.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm laughing. I just realized you and I are both in cream and cream backgrounds. It's like we couldn't look more basic right now.
We do have, my hoop is a little bit bigger, but it's a medium-sized gold hoop even. Yikes.
You know, if we're hanging on your medium-sized hoops, we're in.
Wait a minute. Do we even have the same hair right now? I didn't notice it. Are you in a clip?
Well, we're past the point of the podcast where I'm blow drying my hair out, and now you're getting it pulled back from here on out pretty much.
Yeah, well.
So what were your other ones? So you got cream wide leg, you got a velvet. Tell me about these. Are these like a red holiday velvet, or what are we working with?
It's actually black velvet. I was inspired by a girlfriend I saw who had, she was wearing something similar and it looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
But they're wide leg, but they like fit tighter. I think they're even Paige brand. Like It's like almost like a jean, but I got them a size bigger. They're very comfortable and they just look really nice. And so you can wear almost anything with it, a t-shirt, a sweater.
Where do you wear it? Is it like more of a fancy thing?
I've been wearing it out with friends or even just like a holiday family event that we've, like it's just.
It's not school pickup.
It's not school pickup, but like the wide leg other pant I was telling you about is kind of, you could do that during the day and put it with tennis shoes and it looked great, or you dress it up with boots, but.
Yeah, I'm very tall, so it's just hard for me to find this wide leg look. Like all holiday season, I kept seeing these pants, these jeans, these whatever, and I'm like, lusting after this like new silhouette.
Yeah.
And it's just damn near impossible. I need a 36-inch inseam.
Whoa, 36?
I know.
Okay, that's a lot. Wait, is there any brands that are selling 36 right now?
No, Instagram heard me complain and like has been serving me, the big and tall clothes now. It's not exactly what I haven't found exactly what I'm looking for. I appreciate that there are brands that are now serving the tall community. Thank you
Yeah.
for your service.
Yeah.
But when you go tall, all they have are leggings or all they have are like kind of a basic cut. And it's like, no, I want the cool, trendy, wide leg cut.
Right.
And
And
I
there's
did hunt far and wide and got one pair of wide leg, sort of like light jeans, which I overwear because they're
yeah.
like the only like trendy silhouette. But
Well, just rebuy that in every color from the same
they don't
brand.
have
That's
any
what I
other
say.
silhouettes. They don't make this one leg. Everything that's tall is like, oh, super tall, 33 inch. I'm like, 33 inch? That's barely even tall. And there are a lot of women taller than me. I'm 6 foot
Well,
with long legs, but like, God bless my basketball friends that are 6'4". It's like, where the hell are they shopping?
yeah, 33. So like 32 is like my favorite on myself, and I'm 5'6", and I like them a little longer, but like there's nothing worse too than like a wide leg. I kind of
Oh, they're too long.
shrunk one of my like wide leg sweatpants, and I still try to wear them, but every once in a while I'll look and it's like just a little too short on the shoe. It's awful.
I know. I had one of my favorite podcasts, this podcast, Bad on Paper. If anyone likes to read, it's just great and very similar format to ours, you might notice. But Olivia Mentor, who's one of the hosts, is 6 foot tall. And so every once in a while, she'll give a recommendation that I'll go check out. Because I'm like, okay, this might legitimately be tall enough.
Right.
And she recommended these Target pants last summer. And I raced and got them. They were almost long enough. I then took them to the dry cleaner, the repair. What am
Yeah.
I saying? Who
Well,
does
dry cleaners do the seamstress.
this?
Yeah.
That's what the word I was looking for. To get the hem let out, so they were super long. Then they
Yeah.
looked great. I loved them. And then my husband was helping me out and did a load of laundry and dried them. And
Oh
they
no.
shrunk up 3 inches. I mean, it's like he never does my laundry.
Yeah.
And I think it was like sitting in the washer and he wanted to put a load in, so he moved it over.
Right.
I could have killed them. I was like, I
Well,
just
especially
so
like
sad.
Target. I mean, they probably were that material that can just easily shrink. Like so great, but not so quality that you're gonna get a shrink. That's unfortunate.
So that's now I'm back down to just the one. So, anyways, I'll keep the hunt alive, but I'm happy for you that you have the cute, casual, wide leg because it's both like comfy and cute.
And just nothing better than when it just feels good.
You
it
know,
looks
it
good,
feels good.
feels good. That's what you want.
Well, I'm
More
proud of
confidence.
you. Especially, here's my mentality on the clothes that you kind of hang on to just in case you might lose some weight,
Mhm. Mhm.
which I know you got a bunch of those in your closet because I've been in there.
I just want to say this is like the third time you brought this up on the
Okay.
podcast.
Sorry.
Thanks for calling it out once again.
I'm just trying to get you to do a good purge because hypothetically in the future, if you do lose that weight, is there any better feeling than going buying new pants at
That's true. I'm probably not going to want to wear the same clothes anyways. It's true.
no? And what a treat for yourself. So it's like clear them out, get the size that feels good. So when you go in your closet, it's like an empowering moment of all things that fit.
Yeah, true.
So I've done that this summer. I need to do one more round um, of stuff that I'm still hanging on to a couple things like, but what if I go to this one weird event? It's like, no,
Right.
no, do less.
It's not happening.
No.
Black tie event. No, that doesn't happen anymore. Very rare.
Totally.
So what's your hide today, Kate?
So I have been absolutely loving cozy winter energy. And instead of watching TV at night, I have a new routine where after the kids go down to bed, I click on the fire. We have a one button fireplace, which
Automatic fire. Love
is
that.
there any higher luxury? I don't know it. But I get my book out in front of the fire, cozy up, read. And I guess there's just a lot going on. So like what used to be a good like hour read session after the kids went down is now turned into like 20 minutes and I'm, drooling on my shoulder. But like it's just the cozy energy that I was like so craving. And I feel like I've actually committed to this new ritual where instead of going back downstairs and watching TV, I kind of do this new cozy thing and it's been delightful.
I love cozy. We've brought it up a few times, but also just I think it's healthier. Like just the having a nightly ritual, having it be even if you're reading 5 minutes and falling asleep, it just seems like a more relaxed way to go to sleep for sure.
And
I
I
love
think
that.
I'm sleeping more because I'm falling
Yeah.
asleep a little earlier, and that feels good too right now when there's,
Mhm.
this time of year, so much going on, hectic city. Just
Right.
getting a little bit extra sleep has been a nice plus.
I love that fireplace too. We have 2 real ones and Phil loves a real
He
fireplace.
does.
And it's really nice because he does all he set like, not sets a fire, that's not the right thing, but
That's real arsonist.
he's yeah. He will put a fire on for us pretty often, so we have a fire going, and that was, like, kind of his thing. He held a line when we were talking about maybe making our fireplace more automatic, and
When it's hard to beat the smell of a real fire. Like if you find a real one,
it's so
oh,
nice.
it's great. I
Yeah,
love that smell.
but I'm not doing it on my own. I am not setting that fire on
Not
my own, so I
when
need
I'm
him to
in
do
ways,
it.
it's like not happening.
Yeah. So maybe there's a future where we have one that stays a real fire and the other one that
What
does
do you
not.
do at the
But
end of the night? I always worry too, like if the real fire is sufficiently out.
100%. I have more anxiety than the normal person. So I make Phil poke it out all the way, shut it. And this is like before bedtime, pretty, a little bit of time to make sure we sit there. And if it's not fully out by the time I'm gone to bed, I will set an alarm for like 45 minutes later just to check it.
I hate that. Then you dump a little water on it or something, or
No, it's usually just like once you close the doors, it really is like kind of being put out and like you can kind of push it around to make sure it's like, dying off. But I just make sure that it's like, almost out. And then like, I've set a couple alarms though through the night when it feels like we've set the fire right before bedtime and it's
the
like
real
unfortunate.
fire feels so on brand for Phyllis. It's like he's really in the
It
middle of a
is.
transition from city boy to country man.
My, has he transitioned. It's just so funny. Like he's wearing flannels, he's got a bigger
Yep.
beard, he loves his truck, he loves to do the
Uh-huh.
yard, he grills. What are the other things?
Yeah, it's like the yard is a huge one, but it's like, yeah, he's an outdoor guy. He wants chickens and animals now. I mean, he
Yeah,
used to have a dog in a city, and now all of a sudden he thinks he needs like farm animals.
right,
Yeah,
exactly. It's always our
recently
ongoing.
too.
He was testing it out. Yes. He said he wanted to check the like bucket list of like say he's done
Yeah.
it. And so he went out with some people that do go often, so they had all the gear. That's the way to do it. He had people telling him kind of how to do it, what to do it. But he's just it's funny. I never saw that for him. From the guy who wouldn't fix a light bulb in Santa Monica to the to the guy who's now our
Fire.
outdoor.
Make it cut. He's probably cutting down his own trees for the wood.
Well, we do have a wood guy actually where in Franklin, there is kind of people who are on the side of the street that have trucks that this is what they do. That you kind of can get like a truckload of firewood for the
Oh,
winter,
okay.
and it's really a good price. And so we've been using the same person over and over again, but they have some health issues, and so every year they'll drop it off and we basically end up unloading it ourselves. And one
One
year Phil
delivery
wasn't
a year
here.
kind of thing, like a huge delivery.
It's like a one truckload delivery that gets you through the winter, and
Okay.
so but it's like $150 for all this firewood. If you go down to even the grocery store, you get just like a pack of whatever for 15-20 bucks. So it's a great deal, and it's good wood. But, every year I laugh. I remember specifically when I was pregnant with Lily. I was like 7 months pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
and they showed up and he was golfing. And I had to unload because they literally are not capable of unloading the
Like
truck,
the
really.
woods, 7 months pregnant.
7 months pregnant, and I just every log was like a fuck you.
Well, I can just picture it. Like,
Yeah, so it's kind of like an ongoing joke now, but I'm
didn't
like,
didn't see that coming for you guys.
Yeah.
But
I'm like, can you plan accordingly for this delivery
Mhm.
when you're here?
Okay, so cozy fireplace in the
Yeah,
winter. Okay, what's your
I love
low?
it. My low is we have been doing a lot of events, holiday parties, going out, and one event we went to, I didn't know a ton of people. It was like casual
This is
acquaintances
this is
and
a
a
holiday
few
party with who?
holiday party neighbors and just different people in the community. And I was acting like I do a lot, where I just turn into like, I have a shtick. I'm walking around talking to everyone, schmoozing
It's just
them, doing my whole like, oh, if they're not talking to me, I'm going to introduce myself above and
yeah.
beyond.
It's the Tom Indris. It's our
It's the Tom Indris. Our dad is very charismatic. And I feel like in any event, party, or quiet moment, we come in with like a Tom Indris, like, we'll fill the space with
You do that
noise.
better than I do. I try sometimes, but it's like I gotta really put a lot of energy. I feel like you really have a switch that's real easy to flip.
Well, it's the sales in me a little bit, but I was just selling myself, I guess. I don't know. I was just on one. And about an hour in, one of my close friends who was at the party was like, do you know you have a spice in your tooth? And I was like, what? What do you mean? And
My
I went to the mirror and it was not just like a tiny little, it was like a black spice right
it
center.
looks thinner. It's even more.
Center, not even side, center. And it was just like, I hadn't even had a bite for at least an hour. So I know it was in there for quite some time. And
I have
no one said anything.
spice rack.
Like, you do have a spice rack. That, I mean, I always am commenting, but like usually I'll point it out to you if I see it, right?
On
Like,
our very first podcast. Do you remember
yes,
this? I looked
I
back at the
forgot.
YouTube video and I was like, do I have a spice in my tooth on this entire podcast? I did.
It felt undetectable in like the way we record, like in
Mhm.
the hosting podcast recording system. I couldn't see it, but then on YouTube video, it was very apparent you had a spice in your tooth.
You were almost dead to me for not saying something.
Well, I didn't see it. And after this moment, I now feel awful that I didn't say it to you, because it was just one of those moments where you just start going back thinking, how many people did I speak to? And no one said anything, but it was so obvious that no one could have not seen it,
But also, where is the? I mean, I'm glad your friend finally told you, but like,
Totally.
we need to change culture. If you see a spice in the tooth for a total stranger, you say something immediately.
It wouldn't embarrass me at all if someone said it to me. What was more embarrassing is the after the fact.
Connecting. I would have said thank you
Yeah.
so much. That could have been so much worse. I could have pulled a Tom Enders at this party for 90 minutes before finding out. That would have been.
Yeah. Well, and after reflecting, you're like, well, no wonder they were quiet. They were probably absolutely distracted by the large thing in my middle teeth. Like, it was just,
That's funny though.
yeah. Well, that was a low. What was your low this week?
Well, I'm sure a lot of parents can relate. There's so much going on right now, but one of the things was a couple weeks ago, my son had his kindergarten holiday concert.
Oh, yes.
And all of a sudden, he has been very into having opinions about his outfits. And this was a kid, I'd lay out something the night before, put it on, no problem. All of a sudden, he doesn't want cute animals on it anymore. Like, he only wants sweatpants and things that look sporty, which I kind of hate. I'm like, dang it, like, where is this coming from? And, like, also maybe it's just natural, but it's like he's growing up and it's, he's my baby. So I'm a little bit like, no.
Well, 6 is, it's just maybe the time.
I know.
Yeah.
But when it came to this holiday party, of course, I had laid out slacks, his nice shoes, a button down, and a sweater. Like I'm on, full cute holiday concert outfit.
Yeah.
What did Cal say? Absolutely not. I'm only wearing sweatpants. I'm only wearing a t-shirt. I couldn't even get him in a polo shirt.
Yeah.
And he is a real sensitive little guy. And I have seen this routine before where if I kind of go to the mat on something and he disagrees and he kind of gets kicked off kilter, there's a real good chance he wasn't even going to do the performance. So I was like, I had this moment where I'm like, I know.
You gotta pick your battles.
I know. But there was like the whole kindergarten class, 3 classes, every parent in the, we call it the MP multi-purpose room watching this performance. Every other kid is in a sequin dress, suit. I saw suits, velvet suits. I saw the whole shebang.
Well,
And then you have Calvin, red sweatpants with a hole in the knee and a gray t-shirt is all I could get him to wear. And I was like, you know what? 2 tears in a bucket. Fuck it.
here's the thing though, is it's so relatable. I mean, if you are a parent and you haven't dealt with that, family photo, holiday event, like program at school, whatever it is, somebody has dealt with that at one point or another with that, every child.
I know.
So like it was probably super relatable, but I do feel like I always like strive to be the family that's put together, like they look so cute in their matching holiday outfits in the picture, or they have matching holiday pajamas. And it's just, we're not that. I'm not trying to pretend anymore. We're not wearing the velvet suit to the
Did you guys
program.
do the matching PJs this year? Because you've done that in the past, I think, haven't you?
I have. I got made fun of pretty hard every time we've done it, but I still like it. Well, I went down to just the kids. So this year I got some like cozy PJs that the kids match. Left Phil and I out.
Well, I know your husband absolutely hated it. So I liked it.
100%.
I actually was supportive because I loved watching him just like live in a squirmy state.
We still have Lily who's little, but now that the 2 are getting older, I feel like I can get away with it less. Like when we had younger kids, I feel like it was almost like Phil was like, all right, let's do it. We got young kids. They'll love it. Now he's like, you're not fooling me or the kids. We're not doing this.
Yeah. Not a chance in hell I could get Chris in matching jams.
No, I would love to see it though.
Yeah. Doing it for the kids is cute though. But yeah, we'll see. We got a couple more things coming up, and I'm just like, some of these are not going to jive with the sweatpants. So we'll see what kind of parenting I'm going to have to do to pull this off. Keep me posted.
Yeah, keep me posted. You'll be battling that for the next few years, so settle in.
Everybody else seems to get their kids in cute clothes when it matters in front of the entire school. It's like there wasn't another kid there in sweatpants, I'll tell you that.
You'll have to figure out the bribery. What is it? Is it like a sweet treat at the end? Is it,
He's a tough nut to crack. With Grace, it's so simple. You know what I mean? There's a quick negotiation and I'll get what I want. Mm-hmm. With him, it's like, he also has this look. It's like a sad puppy. I think we even mentioned it in a previous podcast, but it's like, he's just a little more...
He's more emotional. You got to worry a little bit more about the like
meltdown of it all.
Yeah, the meltdown of it all, right? Which is where you don't want to push it. So it's like, pick your battles. Is sweatpants at the holiday party the one to fight? Probably not. So
well, that's what I picked. I just wanted to put a little bit of a sign on him to be like, my mom didn't want me to wear this.
Yeah,
this was on me.
This was on me, everyone.
Just like, oh, we're not that sloppy. I guess.
All right. Well, let's dive into the topic, and this is your week.
Yeah, I was thinking and reading a few comments, but also just it seemed like people wanted to get to know us better. So I came up with a few questions. The way you and I answer questions, I didn't think we could possibly get through 20, but I figured let's start with a few and let the audience sort of get to know our backgrounds and vibe a little bit better. What do you think?
I love that.
All right, cool. So I'll tee up the first one.
Okay.
Why don't you tell everybody how we grew up and what our dynamic as siblings was in childhood and over the years?
Do you want me to start here? Okay, I love that. One of my absolute obsessions is the sibling order and to like personality and how that kind of fits people. And as you learn and like meet more and more people and find out where they are in the birth order, it's so fascinating to me. And I do feel like you, Sarah, and I match that very well with just like kind of the generic, what am I trying to say here? The
stereotypical birth.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. So we grew up in Southern Indiana, And we had just such a charming childhood. Our parents were very in our lives, very active. Mom was a special education teacher. Dad was in sales. We lived kind of a very charming life. And I think always the three of us were very close. Although there's a 5.5 year gap between Sarah and myself, and you fit right in the middle. And so I felt like you and Sarah kind of went through life together where you did, middle school, high school, college at the same time. And then you and I kind of had that. And with Sarah and I always viewed her, she's very mature. She's our parents' favorite, 100%.
Without it.
Always has been.
Without it.
Always
Good
has
reason.
been.
I'm almost like, I get it.
Yeah. I mean, she's really smart and very sweet and thoughtful and, all around. Yeah, exactly. But she was always my older sister, but like kind of mother figure. She always looked out for me. She was so sweet and was always kind. And I think you two bickered a little bit going through like high school together and things. And I think you and I bickered a little bit, but we went through life together a little bit where we had similar friends and we would go out and party together. And so I just think it's kind of interesting, this dynamic. And now as we've grown up, all three of us are very close.
Yeah.
And that's been really fun because I don't know if it feels unique in the sense of like having two sisters who are actually my best friends and not like, that sounds a little cheesy, but it's so true. Like, how lucky are we to have siblings that we really view as our best friends? And so, yeah, I think it's a testament to our parents and them never stacking us against each other.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's kind of just the general overview, and we can kind of dive into some like fun years
later, because obviously there's a lot of like, you want to replicate what you loved about your own childhood and change the things you didn't. But I have the best memories. We lived in a, nice neighborhood, but sort of nothing too fancy, where the houses were pretty close together, and played outside every day after school. And I think we didn't move till we were in middle school to the house our parents are in now. But I guess for me, I really go back to those like elementary school years playing outside with all the neighbor kids.
Yes.
As just
it was like a free for all.
Yeah, it was a free for all.
Yeah, core memory. And at night we would play like Old Gray Wolf, which is kind of like capture the flag. We would be outside until very late into the evening. It felt like, probably 8 o'clock or so now, but we were running around the neighborhood very free, and there were so many kids.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
So we did have a bit of a free range childhood that I have like the best memories of. And it's kind of relevant to what we're doing now, because I'm trying to think of like the modern version of free range childhood that we can do and pull off. And the culture shifted. There's not as many kids out in the neighborhood, so it's like you have to work harder to convince other parents to like come along with you on this, or set up play dates and get them outside or whatever. But I think I am sort of chasing that amazing outside all the time. I have the best memories playing pranks on the neighborhood boys.
Yeah.
I have the best memories playing basketball outside with all the neighbors of different ages. So it's like,
well, and it was like we had to deal. It wasn't always like, it was a little rough at times. Like some of the older kids would kind of push on you or, beat up on you at different times. Like, but that was fun. Like I look back at that as a whole as like, it really like helped us. It wasn't like rainbows and butterflies always, but it was so fun. Like, I don't know.
Well,
it made me tougher. That's for sure.
I was just going to say, speaking of birth order, you were like one of the younger ones, I feel like, in the neighborhood. And I remember the girl down the street spit on you and you got into a couple tussles.
Stacy. I won't say her last name. It's Stacy. She spit in my hair.
So,
yep.
That's so.
Yep.
Yeah. And the birth order thing is really funny though too. I mean, Sarah is a classic oldest. She loves a rule. She does things by the book. She's incredibly book smart. She's very kind and thoughtful, and I
never wrong. If you ask her, never wrong.
Her and our mom are a lot alike. My mom is also an oldest, so I can kind of understand their connection too.
Right.
And, she was the only one of us that like moved back to our childhood town. And,
Right.
of course our parents
Mhm.
wish we would as well so they could have all the grandkids around. But that does change the dynamic, I think, between them. And I'm honestly grateful that she did. Um, and I know later in life when the stages change, like she'll be there to help take care of them. And that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah.
But she's
Yeah.
amazing. We'll have her on a future podcast, and
That would be
I'm sure
fun.
she has plenty of stories. But I loved being a middle. I know I can be like a disgruntled middle, but it's like I love that I got close relationships with her, and we were close and still are. I love that you and I had years where we
Mhm.
were close. I can remember fighting with both of you. Um,
Right.
I think if she were on here, she'd probably tell stories about when I sold her clothes without her knowing as a little side hustle in middle school.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely insane if you just say it out loud. It's like you took her clothes and then sold them and kept the money. Like,
Well,
I guess you I love your like spin on it. Like this is how you started entrepreneurship, but it's a little like ooh.
I'm pretty sure it was things that she didn't really want.
Mhm. Of course. Of course.
So yeah, there were some tussles, and she was like honestly so book smart always too, like so academic that I do think I sort of was like looking for my home and path, and kind of went more sporty. You always are trying to like find your
Mhm.
lane, and so because she was
Yeah.
already that one, I sort of went over here and ended up being sports, and then you came along and academics were taken, sports were taken, and you kind of just chose wild child. I feel like
What'd you have left? Wild. Have fun.
you were wild though, even as a little kid. I remember you running naked through the neighborhood. Speaking of wild.
Yeah, I hated clothes. Hated clothes. So I will say, it's interesting to hear you say that because I've always obviously seen it from my eyes. But it's like Sarah and you are very book smart. Like you always, A's across the board. Didn't really try. Sarah really thrived academically. Full ride to college
Mhm.
for academics. Then you come along and you and I even played on the same sports teams too. So I was good at sports. I just never pushed myself to where you were very like hard on yourself. You practiced all the time. You were
Too,
really pushing yourself to get to the next level.
too.
And yeah, so you had great grades and then you were like the star of all the teams. It's like, I just had to come in and mix it up. I'm not gonna try to compete with you. I'm gonna have my own, sports
Well,
career,
we already talked
which I
about
have to like
your wings.
yeah, you clip my wings. I could have played in college, but guess you didn't want me to, so I decided against it.
You have the most of our dad's life of the party vibe, though. Like, how many
Mhm.
weddings have you been in? How many people think you're their best friend? More,
Yeah, I
more than
think
any other human
I
I've ever witnessed.
yeah, I feel like it's obviously tapered off as I've gotten older, but I do think it's around 17 or 18 weddings that I've been in.
And I bet today, if I could go through your friend list and say, like, to these people, who's your best friend? So many of them would say you. Like, that's just everybody loves you. You're funny, you're fun. Um, so I think that is sort of your lane, so to speak. And it's like such a great one. You're a natural extrovert. You like bring so much energy. So I don't know. For
I
me,
think
that is a very important lane. That's different, and I don't know. That's what
well,
feels right.
as like I never felt less than at all. And I think it's a testament to our parents, but Phil and I parenting together, I bring this up a lot because I specifically remember not just once, but numerous times, dad would sit me down and talk about strengths and weaknesses
Mm,
throughout, like, it started in high school, I think, but it was really like catering to like, what you're good at. Like it was a positive conversation. These are the things that you are really strong in. And maybe you need a little bit more like, you know, maybe you need a math tutor. Maybe you need some of this, but like these are your strengths. And, meeting friends and like, not having a stranger in the room, like those are the things he would say. So when I was in college trying to pick a career, it was fun to have those conversations with him about what it should, like, guiding me to the right direction. And ultimately, sales and kind of following his path a little bit is what I chose, which didn't match a lot. But he did that with you and he did that with Sarah.
Mhm.
And I think that's why we never felt put against each other.
Yeah. I will say they did. That's, I'm chasing a few things from our childhood, but I think our parents, well, first of all, I just think we're so freaking lucky. Our parents love us
Mhm.
so much, give us a
Mhm.
really stable, healthy dynamic. Kind
Mhm.
of joke. We all are very confident, probably the most confident women that I know. And even when
Too
I just,
confident.
yeah, that's what I joke. It's like, we're too confident.
Yeah.
I think I'm like
100%.
really beautiful, and then I see photos back. I'm like, what? It's like I have rose tinted glasses on myself.
Right. Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing.
Well, I certainly fit with entrepreneurship.
Yeah,
Like who
that's
could
true.
start a company that goes against Meta, Google, and Apple? Oh, I think we can
Yeah.
do it. Let's try it.
I will say I have always been and still feel like that confidence. We call it the Endress
Yeah.
confidence, but entrepreneurship has pushed that a little bit. Like I have had a lot, a lot of a lot of sales rejections, but the just overall can we or can't we pull this off type of vibe is interesting. It's really pushing that confidence.
Yeah, we'll have to do a whole session on what it's been to work together. And
Yeah. But I actually go back to when we were playing basketball. Those are some of my favorite memories because or volleyball. We did both. But we would ride in the car to practice together. You would drive and it would be one of your friends or something in the front seat, Laura or whatever. We just had so much fun. We'd listen to music, we'd go to practice. I specifically remember being such like a sassy, the coach, all of our plays, especially basketball, were like, pass it to Kate and she'll do something cool, and it was like we'd just be practicing on like a Saturday morning and the coach would be like, all right, run this play. Angie, you know what it is? And I'd be like, yeah, it's pass it to Kate. She'll figure it out. And I would get in so much trouble from Coach Dockery.
you were sassy. Well, and I think we have to kind of come clean on the dynamics. So, like, I really couldn't stand you for a few years in middle school. Like, was
Yeah.
it like always, oh, we're obviously best friends and get along? Like, you were an absolute bitch.
I like
I like to
to
think
poke you. I knew how to poke you to get the reaction I needed.
I
And you
feel like it
weren't,
was sixth grade through freshman year, you were a terror in my mind.
yeah.
And we just, I don't know,
Right.
that was the thing. I felt close to Sarah. I think she and I both couldn't stand you through those years.
Well, you guys were getting a little older. I felt stuck in middle school. We went to a Catholic school that was literally K through 8th.
Yeah,
And I think we all struggled a little bit during that like 7th grade, 8th grade, because you're kind of over the smaller school wanting to move on. You've been with the same 30 kids the whole time. I mean, it was super small. And 7th grade is 100% the hardest year for females, just
totally.
emotionally. Like you're dealing with all of the hormones. It's just a tough year. And I'm sure it's going to be a really tough year to parent as we get closer to that.
Mhm.
I'm sure Sarah will have a lot of topics on that now because she's kind of dealing with it and we're seeing it. But it's just a difficult year as kids are growing and trying to figure themselves out. So I fully own that I was a nightmare. And also like kind of appreciate that I pushed the issue with you two because I'm sure you guys were leaving me out of things at the time.
Well, and I think when you're youngest, you grow up faster. So you were
Yeah,
extra ready to get the hell out of there and like live a full life
100%. Yeah,
because you were hanging with
100%.
us. But I will say,
Hmm.
I'm so well, and I have this memory where I was like, had my license and I was supposed to drive you around and you were never ready on time and you were making me late for everything. But anyways,
Yeah.
good thing I'm not holding on to that anymore.
I'm sure my high school bestie, Liza, will have a lot of conversations with you about that because she always used to make fun of me. She'd be like, okay, you have to be here at 3 p.m. I'm like, great, great. It was like 2:59. She calls me. I haven't even left yet. She's furious.
But when we got to
I,
high school together, when you were a freshman, I was a junior. You were still wild. I don't know how deep you want to go on that, but you had some situations that I think put our parents in a pretty uncomfortable spot.
Honestly, I now looking back, I'm sure I was like middle of the road, but wild for our family. Like I drank in high school, I partied a lot, but I was never into drugs or doing anything too crazy. Like I,
So,
like on now looking back, but at the time I really pushed the issue with our parents who were, fairly conservative at the time. And, I was the no filter. That I guess that's kind of my personality now too. You would hide things. It wasn't like you weren't going out and partying, but you wouldn't say things to the parents. I would come home and be like, "Yep,"
yeah, I was smart
you
enough
know.
to sleep at somebody else's house. You'd come home
What?
wasted. It was like, fool.
Well, I just, I like to be
Well,
honest. That's where I'm at. Always been an honest soul.
totally. Well, we became really close, I think. For me, I remember junior and senior year sort of flipped it. And
Mhm.
then, and you were so social and extroverted, and your crew, like, was super integrated in all the cool stuff that was going on at school. I can remember being like, "Hey, Ann, what are we doing tonight?" Like,
Yeah, we would go to the same
go to the
parties.
same
Yeah.
parties, and I have really good memories of those years.
Uh-huh. Well, and I think that's what like let's fast forward a little bit out of high school. We all kind of went separately into
Mhm.
college, but still, obviously stayed in touch a lot. But then when you and I reconnected, when I graduated Purdue and we reconnected and lived together in
The
Chicago,
best years.
it was the best. I remember that time so well because I had just started my career making a little money. You had come back from New York. It was so fun. Like, we
Okay.
just had, like, we would go out all the time, and Chicago was so fun and new.
Everyone called us,
Great
our
memories.
maiden name was Indra, so everyone referred to us as the Indra sisters. We had a total brand.
Yeah.
We played all the intramural sports there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh gosh. Sometimes I do have a little bit of like, take me back to those 2 years
I
ago. I
know.
had
Simple
so fun.
times. Well, and I was outside sales for Gala Winery at the time, but it was a distributor. So I basically like drove around and sold booze, which was perfect for my personality at the time, to restaurants and bars. And you were doing private equity and like working your ass off and so tired. And I remember I would like pick up lunch and like go drive to where you were, and you would come out of your building and we
Oh my
would
god,
eat lunch in my car in downtown Chicago and then roll our seats back and take like a 20-minute nap.
yeah.
And then you would go back to work and so would I. Great times.
I remember those too. Can you imagine if you walked by a car and looked in and there were two young women napping? I would laugh, but that I can
Or you'd be concerned. You'd be like, are they okay? Like, what's happening there?
I love our Chicago midday naps.
Oh. And also, it just kind of goes to you. I mean, it probably was because you were working so much, but you have always been a little bit of a narcoleptic. Anytime we're driving or in moving vehicles, you fall asleep within
Still do. You
seconds.
should see
Still
I
do. We would get in a taxi, now an Uber, and within seconds we would be going to dinner and you would fall asleep. So I loved it too because our rule at the end of the night was always, if you are tired and falling asleep, we didn't want to leave each other and like separate where I would go home or you would go
what a
home.
spin job this is. Keep
Well, that's true though. Like, it would be like, let's go home together. But you would fall asleep at the bar, and you said, as long as I prop you up and watch you, make sure you're safe, I could stay on another 30 minutes.
I don't remember actually blessing that plan. I would just fall asleep and didn't want to leave. She'd just dump me in the corner until she
I have so many
took me
pictures
good
of me like
crap.
smiling with you passed out in the bar just because you were so tired. It wasn't even because you were drinking too much. You were just so
Well,
tired all the
later in
time.
life, I learned I have like sleep apnea. It's like all makes
Yeah.
sense, but
Sleep apnea with just like a little booze and you were right to
and a
sleep.
little jiggle like a car or an airplane. To this day,
Yeah.
like put me in a movie vehicle. See ya. I'm out.
Well, and my FOMO was like, I'm not leaving the party this early. We're not going home this
No,
early.
I know.
But I didn't trust that you wouldn't fall asleep in the cab ride home to like get yourself safely. So I was like, just I'll prop her up. I'll watch her.
I love how you're selfless and you're telling
Yeah.
them. You propping me up in the corner of the bar has now turned into you being so selfless about my
Yeah.
safety.
Yeah, safety and babysitting you was just top of mind for me all the
We
time.
did have the best time. I also we have a lot of stories. We're gonna be way over time if we keep at this pace, but
Yeah.
it'd be hard pressed not to think of the Chicago years and think of the St. Patrick's Day. I mean, St. Patrick's Day in Chicago is epic to everyone,
Oh my gosh.
but we had one in particular, and the highlight is you and I got into an arm wrestling match with the entire bar around. And
Yeah.
I lost. I'm still feeling quite shameful about this, but you're shorter, you
I
have
beat
more
you.
leverage. But nonetheless, you
Listen, I think if it's not clear, you and I were arm wrestling each other, and I took you down, and there was a whole crowd of people cheering us on.
in
And
my
I think I
there
got
were like hundreds of people around. Is that true?
yeah, probably 10, but like in my memory it was hundreds. And at the end of it, I got lifted into the
Yeah.
air, like almost like, just pure ecstasy of this was my moment to shine. And I finally took the basketball champion down.
Also, just like, what were we doing?
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, Chicago was great. Okay, so let's move a little bit quicker here through yada yada. We both worked really hard and moved around a bunch. Why don't, just from like a personality perspective, why don't we talk about how we met our husbands?
Oh, I love it. Okay. Do you want to go first?
Sure. So I, after Chicago, moved out to California, went to business school, and business school at Stanford was hard to get in, but not that hard once you were in, and so freaking fun. There were like costume parties galore. We'd go up to San Francisco. And one of the nights we went up with a bunch of classmates and went to Tainted Love 80s cover band concert at a bar called Bimbo's. And
Tainted Love, is that what you said? That was the name of the band?
that's the 80s
Okay.
like cover band.
Okay.
Everyone in 80s costumes. So, and we took, I think maybe I was living in San Francisco that summer, come to think of it. So I don't think we actually came from school, but it was like just a ton of people. It was like a ton of classmates getting together for this concert. And as you like to say in Chicago, the more I drink, the taller I like my men.
100%. 100%. You would basically scan the bar and just like tallest human, no matter what we were getting, was who you were targeting.
I think there's some truth there about like what starts looking good.
Yeah.
Suffice it to say, I'd had a few cocktails because Chris is 6'8", but we ended up kind of catching eyes over a sea of people dancing to 80s cover band. I weasel my way in there. We start dancing. Hey, can I get you a drink? We hung out for what I want to, who's to say? But I want to say more than an hour. And, drinking, dancing, hanging out, making out on the dance floor by the end of it.
Awesome.
So good. I think I was in a leotard. He was in like a pink suit. Like, just, we looked insane.
Yeah.
And then I can remember being like, okay, I got to go to the bathroom. And this place was like kind of big, almost like, it's like way on the other side. So I was like, I'll be back. Like, so go to the women's bathroom line. I later learned one of my friends like went up to him and was like, what are your intentions with my friend? I was like, I'm going to hurt you.
Love that friend. Everybody needs that friend.
Oh, cock block. But the bathroom line was like 45 minutes. By the time I came out, he's gone. No sign of him. Name was a little fuzzy. Didn't get the number. You know what I mean? I was just like, oh my God. And I remember the next day being like, what a misconnection. At the time, like, there was like these Craigslist misconnections. This is dating me, but I was like, I almost wanted to do one. I was like, I remember it just being like, I was so mad at this friend too, because I accused him of running him off.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Well, and now we know Chris's personality, which is he was just like over it. He was just over standing there waiting. It's like, whatever, I'm out.
Well, I think he was with a big group of friends that were moving, and he's just so chill. He's like, that was okay. But that was that. So no names, no nothing, whatever. 7 months later, at another bar, that was also a little bit, as my kids would say, sus.
In a large city too. This is like meant to be, in my opinion.
Well, and neither of us lived in San Francisco, which I think like takes the fate up to another level. I was living in Palo Alto. He was living in Walnut Creek. These are actually an hour and
Yeah,
a half from each other.
right.
But 7 months later at a bar, I get a tap on my shoulder and I turn around and his line was, "We made out last summer." And then I was like,
He remembered you. Cha-ching.
yeah, ching. I was like, awesome, memorable. Okay, I'll take it. Then we started
Yeah.
chatting, then we exchanged numbers, then we started like a more traditional dating. But again, we
Yeah.
had this short distance relationship for, I want to say, the better part of a year because
Yeah. That's a long time.
yeah. So, but it was kind of nice. Like it was like this forced. We weren't able to go kind of all in, but then we would start to like plan weekends, and every once in a while I'd poke up there, and I have really
I love
great
it.
memories of like our courtship from there. And I lived in this crazy house with all these roommates, and he'd come down, and but it was just so fun. So, anyways, that's how
Oh,
Chris and I met.
yada, yada, yada. You're married now how many years?
11. Is
11.
that
Wow.
right? Hold on. Yes.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah. 2013.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
11 years.
Uh-huh. I know.
Your wedding does not seem like 11 years ago, that's for sure. Time is flying.
No. And just the best. I'm so lucky. I have a great partner, but we're good for each other. We're total
So well.
opposites.
Mhm.
But yeah, I picked a good one. What about you? Tell us about you and Phyllis.
So Phil and I both moved to Santa Monica within a couple months of each other. We had no knowledge. I was coming from Florida. I bounced around about every year and a half to 2 years with my winery job. And so there was a position in LA and I didn't know anyone. So I was just going for it. And I picked Santa Monica because I wanted to be kind of beach life. That was kind of my vibe coming from Florida. So I was like, that feels right. So, anyways, moved there. And I was trying to find ways to meet people because I didn't know anyone. And so I joined this CrossFit gym, which I had never done CrossFit before. But I had always done, boot camp style and whatever. And this gym opened up around the corner from where I was living like 2 months before I moved there. So it was fairly new. So I went in, they had a big promotion and I joined and, that was kind of the start. 3 months later, he moves from New York. His job took him out to LA. He didn't know anyone. He also joined this same gym. And we kind of like would see each other in the gym, but it took a few months. And because the gym was new and this is kind of a transplant area, everybody started to hang out. It became this community that now, like, I look back on as just the best too. Like, this was also like, somebody we're still in like a fantasy football CrossFit, group, and our text string the other day was like old pictures from that time of life. And they were like, you never know you're in the good years until you're out,
I
that
think
type
you
of
did know
thing.
you were in the good years, though.
Yeah, I mean, it was so great. And so, anyways, we had this huge friend group. We started to hang out, and Phil was a serial monogamist and always had a girlfriend. So I thought he was cute, but we just really became friends and hung out with the same group of
Mm-hmm.
friends. And fast forward almost 3 years, he had just broken up with a long-term girlfriend. I was always single, so I was single. Nothing new. But we just like one night were the last two standing in the bar.
Mhm.
And we just started to talk a little bit more seriously about life. And it was just like, I went home that night thinking, that was kind of like a really nice conversation. And he then just started to text a little bit. And so it progressed. And so we didn't tell our friends for a couple months, maybe not that long, 2 months or so, because we didn't want it to be weird.
Mm-hmm.
And we just started to kind of date. And there was some like hiccups in the beginning of like, are we or aren't we dating? Going from friendship, like real friendship, to relationship was kind of strange. And so we had to get through kind of some awkward moments of like even
Romance
like,
trope. Friends.
yeah, it was like I am attracted to him, but this is kind of funny. It wasn't like, I just know him so well. But we say now, like, our friendship core is what makes us so strong.
Mhm.
And I knew everything about his old relationships, good, bad, all of it. And same with my dating history, which was not quite as, intense as his, but it's just like when you know somebody so well, you don't have to do that at the beginning of dating. There was no hiding who we were.
Right.
And so we had then started to like really date seriously for a full year and decided to move in together. And then we found out we were pregnant. And so I knew I wanted to marry him, but it pushed us to kind of say, like, I think we should get married now. We were already like living together. And at our wedding, I just remember one of our best friends was like, "Who knew the love of your life was on your bar tab all along?" That's like such a great line for us.
Fun.
But we look back with like Ace, really, our first son, we both had personalities that it probably would have taken us at least another year to get to that stage. And it kind of pushed us to the next phase. And I already knew he was my person, but that little nudge really kind of solidified everything for us. And it's great. So now we've been married over 8 years
Mhm.
and now moving cross country, 3 kids later. It's just, I have such great memories from that for sure.
One thing that is a little bit funny about it all is, we grew up Catholic.
Yeah.
Again, Sarah and I hadn't broken down any. Well, I did move in with Chris before we got engaged, which was controversial in our family.
The parents did not take that news well, even though you were like 30 something.
I know, they really treated your 30-year-old serious boyfriend pregnancy as a real teenage pregnancy situation, which was really funny to watch from the sidelines. I was happy for you and Phil, although, admittedly, do you remember what I said when you called and told me?
You idiot. You were the first person I told. And I was like, well, that wasn't exactly the supportive response I was looking for, but I don't
I
know.
was like, how did you get pregnant?
Well, and going back to the parents, I have always been the wild child, as we said. And it just was like icing on the cake or the cherry on top to be like now, again, 30 years old, 31 years old.
Yeah.
And then I had to like have this call, which was like, I didn't actually tell you this, but Phil and I moved in together. Oh, we have decided to get married and we're pregnant. And like silence on that call. Like it was silence. And I just remember they had to process and then call me back. And they were very supportive, but it took them a second to like process all of the things I was throwing at them.
Oh,
too good.
thank God he's worked out so well.
I know. I mean, it really was, there was no question in my mind, which like I don't know if people like it sounds like something you just say, but I truly knew.
Yeah.
But there was no question in my mind he was my person. It just was a different path than the usual.
Okay, cool. Well, I love how on my questions of what was it like growing up together, what was your dynamic, what about your early careers, and how did you meet your husband? We got through 3 questions, but we're at time. And then some. So we'll have to do a part 2 maybe later.
Okay, love
the
it.
other questions. But I think for our busy mom listeners, we gotta keep it at pace here. So let's move on to the end matter of obsessions. What do you got?
I have a couple,
Okay.
but they're short. So I'll just say one of them is not really like a huge obsession, but I'm always looking for a show that Phil and I can watch that we really like late night when the kids go to bed.
Yeah.
And we're usually into like spy type shows, different things. We loved the whole Jack Reacher series, which was actually really good. There's a new series coming out.
So bad, so good.
Yeah. And Jack Ryan, like all the Jacks, we love them. But we found this show called The Black Dove on Netflix, and it's got Keira Knightley in it, and it's like spy-esque. Anyways, it's giving. It's really good, and they don't like. It's not slow. Some of the spy shows lately I've watched feel like they drag on for a while. They hit you. It's like every episode is like there's something going on.
Fan. I don't know. I feel like she overacts, but how's she doing this one?
I love it. I thought like, in fact, we even said the acting is so good.
Okay.
Like, yeah. So check it out if you are into that type of show. It's a good one.
Here's what I can see for my marriage. I'm going to go to Chris and be like, let's watch The Black Dove together. He's going to go, yeah, I already watched it.
Already seen it.
We're reading
He will
Stairs by the Fire, and
he's crushing Black Dove episodes down below. Well,
we did it together.
He will like it if he hasn't seen it before.
Okay.
get on it.
Mhm.
The second obsession, which is kind of humorous because Phil has been making fun of me for it, is I got this cryo roller. It's from Target.
Like gold.
Basically, it's like an ice, like the fancy ice. It's like an ice holder. So you fill up with water, you put it in your freezer, and it like twists off. But they call it a cryo roller. It feels like this is a piece of ice. Anyways, I love it because it was like so cheap at Target, and I've been rolling it in the morning over my like dark circles and bags,
And
and I love it. I mean, it's like waking me up. It might be placebo effect, but like I am loving rolling this ice roller. Now I have the kids on it, so they want to borrow it and use it.
bags have been horrible. Maybe
Um,
I'll try that.
it's really just an easier way, like with your grip to hold a piece of ice to drag it around your bags. And I always am like, I think it's time for a cryo roller. He's like, the name is ridiculous. It's an ice cube, But I'm obsessed.
Okay.
Obsessed.
Speaking
And then the last one is those pants I talked about at the beginning, which I will link, which is those Athleta pants. So
Speaking of bags under your eyes, I did recently purchase at Sephora something called the Ordinary Caffeine Drops under
Ooh.
your eye.
Is it working?
I think a little bit. I mean, I feel like my bags have been really bad. So like I've gone from really bad to like marginally better is sort of the assessment. But hey, marginally better. And it wasn't, I think it was $15 for like a thing that lasts a long time. So anyways, try it out.
I'll take it.
If you like it. But I feel like the combination of this cryo roller plus the caffeine drops from the Ordinary. Just what the doctor ordered here.
What is your obsession?
Okay, mine's kind of silly, but it has brought quite a bit of joy to my life. And is there a better obsession than something like free that's funny? I think not. So I have started finding funny pictures of people. And I mean, like my neighbor who I hang out with a bunch, I found a picture of her from a newspaper clipping when she was in college. And she's making like a real mean face and she's like the happiest person. It's a funny picture. Another friend I found, like an old funny picture of someone, and I update them in my phone with that photo. So every single time that they contact me, I see this picture. And it's so simple. Why did I not take the time to make myself laugh a long time ago? But like, I've now done it with you and Chris, and like, it is so dang funny when you guys call and I see this ridiculous picture.
What's my photo?
I'll send it to you afterwards, but you're super tan. And it just makes me giggle. It was like the high school. Do you know when you had the little bob and it was like almost like a senior?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I loved it.
And you were like,
loved that bob.
You were like a different race, basically. It makes me giggle when I see it.
Well, I've never taken the time, but I do think that I would enjoy that. I just like have to like, I guess if you're doing them one every once in a while. Yeah. Over time, that feels doable, and I think that would bring me joy.
And what I started doing is I'm going to the spouses, like, what's the worst or funniest picture of Phil? Actually, that's a good point. I think I need to fill in a couple gaps, but it's funny, and I should have done it a long time ago, and it's so easy.
Yeah.
So
that's a good one. I like.
That's what I got. All right, we better wrap this up.
Let's do
it. All
it.
right, love you, Tan. Lilas.
Love you, Lilas.